You think you would recognize one. You have heard the word. You have read the list, grandiose, entitled, no empathy. You have that list in your head, and that list is exactly why you will miss them. Because the narcissist that will do the most damage in your life will not match that list. They will not brag about themselves. They will not be visibly cruel. They will not announce themselves. They will feel like the person who finally understood you. By the time the architecture is complete, by the time they are living inside your cognition, making decisions through your mouth, running their program through your nervous system, you will call it a relationship. 7 signs, 7 mechanisms, each one already running inside someone you know. Narcissistic personality disorder affects between 1 and 5% of the population, depending on how the criteria are applied and who is doing the measuring. But here is what the clinical literature does not tell you. What the listicle and the Reddit thread and the self-help book will not tell you. The mechanisms of narcissistic manipulation are not pathological outliers. They are optimized versions of tactics that exist on a spectrum in every human being. Every person mirrors. Every person seeks validation. Every person occasionally devalues. The narcissistic operator has simply, through developmental architecture or conscious iteration, maximized these mechanisms and eliminated the internal resistance that would otherwise regulate them. They are not monsters. They are engineers. And understanding their engineering is the only defense that actually works. Sign number 1. The mirroring protocol. Before a narcissistic operator can extract anything from you, they must first become someone you trust completely. And the fastest route to complete trust is the illusion of perfect understanding. So they mirror, not the crude mimicry you might imagine, where someone copies your posture or repeats your words. The sophisticated version is cognitive. They mirror your values, your wounds, your deepest aspirations, the version of yourself you have never fully been able to articulate. They become the person you have been waiting for. Meet Ava. Ava had spent her adult life with people who found her too much, too intense, too analytical, too invested in the questions that most people found exhausting. Then she met someone who not only matched her intensity, but seemed to have been waiting for exactly her. He remembered her sentences. He finished her thoughts. He agreed with her on every position she had spent years defending alone. What Ava did not know is that the mirroring preceded their first conversation. He had been listening to her social media, to mutual friends, to the fragments of her world that were already publicly available. The mirror was not spontaneous. It was constructed. Your brain cannot distinguish a mirror from a match. The reward circuitry cannot tell the difference between someone who is like you and someone who has simply studied you well enough to seem like you. They become you first. Sign number 2. Triangulation. Once the mirror phase has established your attachment, the operator introduces a new element into the dynamic. A third party. The third party serves a precise psychological function. It manufactures the one emotion that overrides rational evaluation more consistently than any other: insecurity. My ex used to understand me in a way I haven't found since. People at work keep asking about me. I probably shouldn't say, "She's just a friend, but she actually gets the way I think." Each statement is calibrated. Not to make you jealous, exactly. To make you compete. To activate the fear of loss before the loss is even real. to keep your nervous system permanently in a low-grade state of threat that requires constant resolution through proximity to them. Meet Julian. Julian noticed the pattern by year 2. His partner would introduce references to other people, admiration from a colleague, attention from an ex, always in passing, always deniable. The effect was never overt, but Julian found himself working harder, doing more, being more available. He thought he was investing in the relationship. He was responding to an engineered threat stimulus. Triangulation does not require a real third party. It requires only the perception of one. And the narcissistic operator can manufacture that perception with a single sentence. Sign number 3. This is the one nobody warns you about, not because it is rare, because it is invisible. Covert devaluation. You know what overt devaluation looks like. Insults, criticism, cruelty that leave marks you can identify. You have been told to watch for that. You would see it. What you were not told about is the version that leaves no marks. It operates through implication, through tone, through the precise calibration of what is not said at the moment when it would have mattered most. It looks like this. You share something you are proud of. The response comes, but 3 seconds late. Long enough for the pause to register in your nervous system as insufficient. Then, oh yeah, that's great. Correct words. Wrong frequency. The message encoded in the gap, not the sentence. Or a passing remark that requires no defense because it barely registers as an attack. You always do that? It's kinda your thing. Said lightly. Said once. Never repeated. But your brain files it. And files it. And 6 months later, you cannot fully remember why you hesitate before doing that thing. Meet Renee. Renee spent 4 years in a relationship where nothing was technically wrong. There were no insults. There were no outbursts. There were evenings and trips and moments that felt close to what she had wanted. But something was eroding. Slowly. Incrementally. In units so small she could not point to any single incident. Her opinions became quieter. Her certainty about her own judgments dissolved. She began outsourcing decisions she had always made confidently. What to wear, what to order, what to think about her own work, to him. Not because he demanded it, because the microenvironment of the relationship had systematically removed her trust in herself without her being able to locate the mechanism. By the time she left, and it took 2 years after the first moment she knew something was wrong, she described the experience to her therapist as, "I lost myself, and I don't know when it started." Covert devaluation does not tell you that you are wrong. It makes you feel wrong about being right. It does not attack your ideas. It colonizes the space between your ideas and your confidence in them. You do not lose your mind allotons. You lose it in fractions, in pauses, in the accumulation of moments where you were made to feel slightly, deniably, precisely less. This is not accident. This is architecture. Sign number 4, supply extraction. In clinical literature, narcissistic supply refers to the external sources of validation, admiration, and emotional reaction that the narcissistic personality requires to maintain psychological regulation. In practical terms, your emotions are their fuel, all of them, including the negative ones. Your love, your fear, your anger, your tears, your compliance, and your resistance. Both generate supply. The operator does not require you to be happy. They require you to be reactive, a silent, regulated, emotionally unavailable target is useless to them. A target whose emotional state they can manipulate on demand is an asset. This is why conflict with a narcissistic operator feels exhausting in a way that conflict with ordinary people does not. Because you are not arguing, you are producing supply, and they are harvesting it. Sign number 5. Isolation architecture. The narcissistic operator does not remove your support network through force. Force would be visible. Force would trigger resistance. They do it through preference engineering. Your friends don't really understand you the way I do. Your family seems to drain you every time you see them. I just want to spend time with you. Is that so wrong? Each statement is designed to make you choose them over your existing connections, not through ultimatum, but through the gradual redesign of your preferences until the connections themselves feel like burdens. The result: by the time the relationship reaches its most abusive phase, you have already dismantled the infrastructure that would have allowed you to leave. It is not a cage. It is the systematic removal of every door before you ever needed to use one. Sign number 6. Trauma bonding. The neurochemistry of trauma bonding was documented in research by Dr. Patrick Carnes and subsequently expanded across the clinical literature on coercive control. The mechanism: intermittent cycles of abuse and affection produce a neurological response in the target that is functionally identical to addiction. The relief experienced when the abusive cycle ends and the affectionate phase begins triggers a dopamine release that is disproportionately intense, precisely because it follows a period of deprivation. The brain learns to crave the relief and to tolerate the deprivation as the price of obtaining it. This is why people stay, not because they do not know something is wrong, because the neurochemical architecture of the relationship has been modified to make leaving feel like the most painful option, more painful than remaining. The cage is invisible, the lock is neurological, and the person who installed it never had to say a word about it. Sign number 7. The discard protocol. Every narcissistic relationship, regardless of its duration, its apparent stability, its moments of genuine connection, ends the same way. Not with closure, with erasure. The discard is not an ending. It is the final operation in a sequence that began with the mirroring protocol. It is designed to leave the target in a state of maximum psychological disruption, confused, self-doubting, unable to construct a coherent narrative of what happened, precisely because a target in that state cannot mount an effective challenge to the operator's version of events. The discard often includes a replacement, a new target, introduced visibly enough that the previous target must witness the mirroring being performed on someone else with the same precision it was once performed on them. This is not carelessness. This is operational. The message delivered through the discard is not, "I am leaving." The message is, "You were never as important as you believed. Your version of what we were is wrong. The person you thought I was doesn't exist." It is designed to destroy the coherent narrative you would need to recover. And for many people, it works. Until they understand the architecture, until they can name the sequence, until the program becomes visible. A visible program cannot run. 7 signs, 7 mechanisms. Running in sequence, in silence, below the threshold you were trained to monitor. The mirroring protocol, triangulation, covert devaluation, supply extraction, isolation architecture, trauma bonding, the discard protocol. You were not weak for not seeing them. You were human. And they were engineered for humans. But here is what changes from this moment. You now have the architecture. And an architecture you can see is an architecture you can exit. The program cannot run in a mind that recognizes it. The mirror cannot trap someone who knows they are standing in front of one. The question is not whether someone is running this on you right now. The question is, now that you can see the sequence, are you ready to stop performing for the program